Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Property Management 101, and for today's video, we're going to be discussing 4 pieces of equipment that are a must-have for every maintenance shop. This video will apply to anyone that works in the property management industry, regardless of their demographic type or their asset type. If you have in-house maintenance, this video will apply to you. By having these 4 pieces of equipment on hand, it'll save your company a lot of time and money as these things come up. If you're interested in purchasing any of these items after the video, I'll provide a link of an example of each in the description. Many of you may be saying, I don't need to have these items on stock, my vendor provides these for me. Well, that may be true, but it also is going to be a good idea to have these on hand because it still will save you some time and money in the long run. And I'm going to be providing some examples as I discuss each piece of equipment in today's video. Now, here are 4 pieces of equipment that every maintenance shop should have. Number 1, an ozone machine. If you're not familiar with what an ozone machine does, it's simply a machine and device that helps remove odors from the air or from that particular area. These are great for removing pet odors, smoking odors, and any other type of odor after a resident moves out. These can vary in price, but I would recommend getting one that has a big coverage area. For example, you may want to consider purchasing one that has at least the coverage area of your biggest unit type. I have seen vendors provide these, but they typically will charge you per day for every day that device is sitting on your property. So you can imagine this adds up very quickly, as most ozone machines will take at least 3 to 4 days to really start removing a lot of odors in that particular area. Here's a common example why you would want to have some on hand rather than being dependent for a vendor for their ozone machines. Let's say you walk a unit and everything looks good, there's not a lot of work or things need to be addressed after a resident moves out, but it does have a little bit of an odor that you want to remove. Instead of calling a vendor that may come 3 to 4 days and drop those off, you'll be able to quickly grab the ones you have on hand and install those so they're removing the odors as quickly as possible, allowing you to turn the unit as quickly as possible to get it back onto the market. This is really important to help decrease your vacancy loss as your unit becomes available. The second piece of equipment that your team should have in your maintenance shop is a carpet cleaner. Even if you have a situation where you have a very good carpet cleaning company, they're quick to respond, I would still highly recommend having a carpet cleaner on hand. Now, there is one situation that I would not recommend having a carpet cleaner, and that would be only in this situation that all of your units do not have any carpet in them, as well as none of your common areas or office areas have any carpet in them. If they do have carpet, I would still go ahead and purchase a carpet cleaner because there will be situations that come up that you don't want to be dependent on a vendor for. Oftentimes, as you're walking your common areas or walking a unit, you may see a small isolated stain, or you may just see a high traffic area that needs to have some carpet cleaning done to it, but maybe the area is pretty isolated and maybe it's not necessarily worth calling a vendor where you feel a carpet cleaner should be able to do the job. This would be an example. By having an in-house carpet cleaner, it'll save you some money and turnaround time when it comes to treating that area quickly. Another common example that's a good thing to have a carpet cleaner on hand is if you spill something in a common area or in a unit and you don't want that stain to set in. If you call a vendor, it may be a day or 2 before they are able to come and address it, or even just several hours if they're able to come same day. But if you have a carpet cleaner on hand, you can address that stain quickly and prevent it from really settling in. I hope you're enjoying this video so far and learning something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. The third piece of equipment I would highly recommend having on hand in your maintenance shop are air blowers. These are going to be commonly used after a water leak to help dry out that area that water leak occurred. Like some of the reasons discussed in the prior 2 examples of equipment you should have on hand, by having some blowers on hand, you will save your company some cost and time when it comes to treating any areas. There could be a water leak that may only require 1 blower if it's a small isolated area. You wouldn't have to want to be dependent on a vendor to bring an air blower in because you simply don't have one on hand. I would highly recommend having at least 3 to 4 of these, and depending on your property or portfolio size, you may want to even have more than that. When it comes to the most common situation where you'll need an air blower, it is usually due to a water leak, and water leaks can become very costly if they're not treated quickly. So by being dependent on a vendor that may come out a few hours after you contact them, there may be additional damage caused in that time period you're waiting for a vendor. So it's always good to be able to have one on hand to quickly install it in that area of the water leak that you're treating to ensure you're minimizing all the overall damage and decreasing the amount of time it's going to take to turn that unit back into good condition. And the last piece of equipment we'll be discussing today that you should have in your maintenance shop is a dehumidifier. For all the same reasons that I've talked about with the air blowers is why you would want to have a dehumidifier on hand. It's going to help your costs, and it's also going to help prevent additional damage, as well as it's going to help turning that unit around and putting it back in good condition as quickly as possible. Now, you may not need to have the same amount of air blowers and dehumidifiers. You may be able to get away with 1 or 2 less dehumidifiers per air blower, but I would recommend having at least 2 to 3 dehumidifiers on hand. And just like with the air blowers and the other items discussed, if you contact a restoration company and they bring in air blowers and dehumidifiers, they're going to charge you per day for every day they are sitting at your property. And as you can imagine, this can really rack up costs very quickly. And it's also one of those dynamics where you don't want to be in a position where you have them pull them too early to save some costs, but it may take longer to turn that unit because of the dry out time. So it's really a good thing to have some on hand as well to not be dependent on any vendors. And for a video recap today, please keep in mind these 4 pieces of equipment when you're stocking up your maintenance shop. Number 1, have an Ozone machine on hand. Number 2, carpet cleaners. And unless you don't have any carpet on any of your units or any of your common areas or offices. Number 3, air blowers. I would recommend having at least 3 to 4 of these, depending on your portfolio or property or size. If it's 300 to 400 units or bigger, you may want to consider going to 5 or 6. And the last item you want to have on hand is a dehumidifier. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. If so, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for future videos. And if you haven't already done so, please watch my disclosure video as well as my why I do this video. I'll put a link to both of those in the description as well. And if you haven't connected to our LinkedIn and our Instagram page, please do so for industry news, polls, and video releases. If you have any questions about this video or any of my videos, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to address it for you. Happy leasing.